In this video, I'll show you how to do a realistic looking screen replacement in After Effects and Mocha. I'll give you some tips on how to film it and set yourself up for success, show you how to do the tracking and the green screen removal, and finally, how to do the compositing so it looks a bit more real. If you're working with pre-existing footage, you can jump straight to the tracking section of this video. But if you plan on recording it yourself, getting the green screen set up right on your phone is the most important step for a clean result. I use this app called the VFX screen because it lets me actually scroll with tracking markers, so I'll be able to extract the actual scroll movement later and I won't need to fake it. Another tip is to lower the opacity of your markers. As you can see, if I choose these ones, I cannot adjust their color and later on I would need to mask them out manually frame by frame. I had to do that in the past and it's no fun. This isn't what I want, so I'll pick these ones instead and change their color so that it's similar to my green screen background, but still recognizable. That way I can still use these for tracking, but I'll be able to key them out without any manual masking. For the actual recording, it's beneficial to use a higher shutter speed. You don't want any motion blur for this. It's gonna be way easier to key out the green screen that way, and we can always fake the motion blur afterwards. So I filmed this with my shutter set at 1/125. If I went any higher, it started bending real bad, so this was the sweet spot for me. Another tip is try to avoid reflections as much as possible. These will mess with your key, so it's easier to avoid them now than fix it later. And I'll actually film two different shots of the phone. The first one is the green screen shot, and this is where the scrolling green screen will be quite useful. The second one will be a reference shot of the phone, just scrolling through a website or something like that, just for reference, so we know how a real screen would look like in this lighting. Generally, the green screen shot is the most important. In a pinch, you can't go without reference, but it will definitely help to make it look more realistic later on. Once you have your footage imported into After Effects, go to Animation and select Track in Boris Effects Mocha. Then click this button and Mocha should open. I'll be using the Essential workspace for this, so go to Workspace and select Essential. We're not gonna be doing anything complicated here, so this simplified version will suffice. Next, I'll make sure I'm on the first frame of my clip by dragging my playhead to the very beginning. This just makes sure you won't need to track backwards later, so it's much easier to start from the beginning. Okay, to track this surface, I'll grab the X-Spline tool from the top and add 4 points around my phone screen so it looks just like this. Once you have your 4 points, you'll see the tool is still active, so just right-click anywhere to exit out of it. So we have now set up what area we want to track, but we also need to define the area we'll actually be replacing. Find the Show Surface button and click it. This blue outline will appear, and this defines our actual screen position. I'll match the corners of this box to my screen. Now, the weird thing here is that my phone edges are rounded, so what I actually need to do is imagine where the sharp corners would be. I'm going to align the surface by looking at the straight lines of my phone's sides and following them out until they meet. It's also really important to leave a little bit of overlap. I'll extend these corners slightly past the edge of the actual screen. That way, if there are any tiny inaccuracies in the track, we're essentially ensuring ourselves so that everything still looks perfect without any gaps. Great, now it's really important to enable perspective here so it knows the motion is in 3D. Then click this button to start tracking. Generally, it should track your footage no problem, but if you face any issues, I'll have some resources linked in the description to the most common problems and solutions. Once we're done with the tracking, just save the project and exit out of Mocha. Now we need to apply this tracking data to our screen replacement. I just have this long screenshot of a website that I want to scroll through. First, open the Tracking Data tab in the Mocha effect and click Create Track Data. This will automatically generate keyframes for all these parameters. For the export option, select Corner Pin with Motion Blur. Now we need a layer to apply this data to. A common mistake is trying to apply the track directly to your screenshot image. If I do that, you can see it doesn't match the screen geometry at all. Instead, we need a sort of container that we would place our screenshot image in. So go to Layer, New, Solid. The color doesn't matter here, but the resolution does. It needs to match our main composition exactly. Mine is 4K and I can see it automatically matches my comp, so I'll just click OK. Now go back to the Mocha layer and select the solid. Then click Apply Export. Now if I scrub through, you can see the solid is now perfectly locked to the phone movement. To swap the solid with our actual screenshot, we need to do a bit of a pre-comp inception. Basically, After Effects doesn't know what size or what aspect ratio our physical screen is, so I'll show you how to define this so it looks right. Select the solid layer and pre-compose it. I'll name this one Phone Stretch, and this name will make sense in a minute. Also, this is a crucial step. Make sure you select Leave All Attributes in the main composition. This keeps the tracking data in your main timeline where we need it. Click OK. Now double-click that new Phone Stretch composition to open it. Select the solid inside and pre-compose it one more time. I'll name this one Actual Screen. For this one, you can select Move All Attributes. It doesn't really matter since it's just a solid. Open up the Actual Screen comp. This is where we define the real resolution of the phone. I'm using an iPhone 16 Pro and a quick Google search tells me that the screen resolution is 1206 by 2622. If you can't find your exact specs, you can actually eyeball it. I have done it in the past and it's fine, but of course having the exact numbers yields better results. So open your composition settings and change the width and height to match your phone. Now I can finally delete this placeholder solid and drag in my long screenshot. Now, if we jump back to our original composition to check our work, you'll see it doesn't look right at all. The screenshot looks tiny and squeezed into the middle of the phone. But don't panic, that's exactly why we created that middle phone stretch composition. Let's open that up to fix it. As you can see here, our vertical screen layer is just floating in the middle of the frame with a lot of empty space around it. The tracking data is trying to squeeze this whole big frame into the phone screen, which is why it looks so small. So we actually need to fill this empty space. So select the layer, right-click, go to Transform, and select Fit to Comp. Now, inside this composition, the image looks completely stretched out and distorted, but if we go back to our main composition, it looks perfect now. By stretching it out in the pre-comp, we counteracted the squeeze from the corner pin, and now the aspect ratio matches your phone exactly. So it's time we place this footage inside the phone and not just on top. To key out the green screen, we can use the key light effect. After Effects has this handy preset that includes key cleaner and spill suppressor, so I'm gonna use that. Use this color selector to select your screen color, and it looks pretty okay already. But we have these green edges and I can see that the effect is affecting the rest of the shot too, not just the phone screen. So we need to select only the green parts, and for that we need to play around with the screen matte settings, mainly the clip black and clip white values. In this view, if I adjust these, it's quite hard to see what's happening, so what I'm gonna do is switch the view to status. Now you can really see what's happening. Status is basically an exaggerated view of what's being keyed out and what's not. So we want our screen to be completely black and everything else to be white. So first, let's lift up the clip black. You want to just start keying out a little bit too much and then bring it back slightly. That way you'll be selecting the maximum range of green possible. Then I'll lower the clip white until everything else turns white. And as you can see, these two numbers shouldn't be far from each other. We're essentially isolating the parts we want to key out and finding that sweet spot for the perfect key. And now I can switch to intermediate result again and see how it really looks. When we applied the key light effect, the key cleaner and advanced spill suppressor were applied too, but the spill suppressor is turned off by default. Firstly, let's see what the key cleaner does here. It basically softens up the edge and makes the key a bit more smooth. I won't adjust any settings here since this is totally fine. But we still have some green edges, especially on the fingers. And that's where we can use the advanced spill suppressor. Watch how the green disappears after I enable it. It looks pretty good. The only problem is that the edges are gray now. It's better than green, but the effect itself is actually designed to remove a green cast from the whole frame and not just the edges specifically. So for the edges, I'm actually gonna use an additional effect called Refine Hard Matte. By default, it does a few things, but I'm only interested in decontamination. So I'll zero everything else out and set the amount to 50. And you can experiment with this value. For this specific shot, 100% makes the colors bleed out a bit too much. But as you can see, the edges have a bit more contrast with this effect, and these edges are more skin color now instead of gray, and that's exactly what I wanted to achieve. You can also see it adds motion blur by default, and I'll actually leave that on. We could add motion blur to the whole shot afterwards, but doing it like this is totally fine and actually more efficient. And we'll be able to control the motion blur of the screen independently this way, so that's also a bonus. Great, so the screen is inside the phone now, but I actually have two problems. First, it doesn't scroll, and second, it looks fake. It's too bright, it's too perfect. And that's especially apparent when we compare it to our reference. So let's firstly add the scrolling animation. I'll firstly disable all of the effects on my phone clip and bring the screen layer on top. And that's why I added these markers previously. It really helps to see how the natural scrolling looks, and we'll be able to replicate it here. And I wish there was a way to track these markers and apply the data to my screenshot, but sadly the position, scrolling direction, and scale doesn't match in these two pre-comps. There are just too many things that do not match and we cannot interpret this data, so we'll have to do it manually. But luckily, it's not that hard. Firstly, I want to be able to see both this and the actual screenshot composition. So I'll lock this composition by clicking on this lock icon, then go to actual screen comp and drag this comp here like this. This will let us see what's happening in both comps at once. I'll create a solid layer and add a grid effect and make it quite big. I'll disable my actual screenshot for now, and what I'm gonna do is align this last grid line with one of these crosshairs on the phone screen. So I'll adjust the vertical position of the whole layer to align these on the first frame. And then, if the screen doesn't scroll, I don't have to add keyframes on every frame. I only need to do so if the screen is scrolling. Frame by frame sounds tedious, but this is probably the easiest frame by frame adjustment I've ever done, and it took me only a couple minutes to do. It of course depends on the shot length, but the alignment is really easy since we only need to animate this vertically. What we essentially did was manually replicate the natural scrolling speed and timing in the actual screen comp. Now we just need to transfer this movement from the grid layer to our screenshot. So let's enable the screenshot layer and disable the visibility of the grid. Then go to the beginning of the clip and parent your screenshot to the grid layer. Now the motion will be applied to this screenshot. And we can delete this composition from here and unlock the main one. And now we can enable the green screen effects again and place the screenshot layer below. For compositing, I'll bring in my reference shot. And suddenly, the real screen actually looks weird. Well, at least to me it does. It's not as clear, not as sharp, and not as bright. But that's exactly why we shot this, so we could match our replacement to the real one. Now, I'm making some creative decisions from the very beginning. Most likely, if you're replacing a screen, it's for a commercial or a brand, and you want things like logos or an app interface to be very clear and readable, which means we need to find that balance between what looks realistic and what looks good and clear. So my goal here is to composite the screen into the phone so it looks bright and clear, but also realistic enough. Meaning I don't strive for 100% photorealistic replacement, but rather a realistic enhancement, if that makes sense. The effects and settings may vary for your shot since you'll be matching the screen to a different environment, but this will give you an idea of how you can achieve certain things. Either way, the two main things that stand out are the brightness and the tint of the screen. So I'll apply the lumetri color effect and adjust the exposure, contrast, highlight, and shadows. Generally, you want to decrease the contrast of the screen. In the real world, nothing is perfectly black or perfectly white, and I'll even use the faded film parameter for this. I'd say the brightness looks quite okay here. Maybe I'll brighten it up a little bit more since it just looks better that way, not entirely realistic, but better. And I'll try to adjust the tint now. A few percent goes a long way, so don't overdo it. And that looks pretty good. And if we compare this to what we started with, it already looks way more grounded in reality. Another thing I'm noticing is the sharpness of the screen. I think it's too perfect. A real screen is made out of pixels, and I want to simulate that here. So I'll go into my actual screen comp, create an adjustment layer, and add the mosaic effect. I found that for me 600 horizontal blocks and 1200 vertical blocks work well. It just softens everything up and I feel like this helps to sell the look. You can also see that in the reference, this side of the screen is slightly blurry compared to this since I filmed this with a shallow depth of field. In my replacement shot, it's not that apparent, but I'll add a very slight blur to one side of the screen as well. To simulate that, I'll grab the camera lens blur effect and drop that onto my phone screen layer. I'll draw a mask around the area I want to blur, and if you go to the camera lens blur effect in the layer properties and click the plus icon, the mask will only affect this effect. I'll adjust the feather and blur the screen ever so slightly. For this specific shot, I can get away with not animating the mask, but for some you would need to do that. I'll also add in some fake reflections by adding a white solid, masking it out and adjusting the opacity so it's closer to our reference shot. The overall look is done and the screen looks good. The only thing that's not realistic here is the actual interface. If we compare how the actual phone interface looks, there are additional elements on top and bottom of the screen. For example, right now the content around the dynamic island looks weird since it's not how it looks in reality. So we need to add these additional elements. For every phone and every interface, this will be different, so I won't guide you through this, but I just took some additional screenshots of the address bar, the elements at the bottom, and some other stuff, and just added those in the actual screen comp. I'll also enable motion blur in the actual screen comp, but change the shutter angle to 90 degrees since motion blur on screens works differently. So after we added the interface elements, it went from this to this. It's a small but very important change. So that's it. I hope this tutorial helped you and you learned something new. If so, consider subscribing to my channel and I'll see you in the next tutorial.